The hum of the 18-wheeler's engine was the only companion Emma trusted during the long stretches of highway. Night after night, she rolled across America's vast backbone of roads, her cab smelling faintly of coffee and leather, her radio humming with classic country tunes that seemed to speak to the solitude of the open road. Truck driving wasn't glamorous. It was lonely, exhausting, and often dangerous for a woman traveling alone. But Emma wasn't really alone. Two massive German shepherds, trained service dogs named Duke and Raven, kept her company. Their sharp eyes and keen instincts were her reassurance when she pulled into desolate rest stops or when strangers got a little too curious. They weren't just pets, they were family. She had rescued them as pups, but in truth, they had rescued her, too. Tonight, the moonlight painted the blacktop silver as she guided the rig through the desert stretch of New Mexico. She was running a heavy load of farm equipment bound for Oklahoma. Fatigue tugged at her, but she knew better than to stop just anywhere. For women in her line of work, safety wasn't a luxury, it was survival. But fate doesn't ask permission. As she slowed to refuel at a lonely truck stop just off Interstate 40, the roar of motorcycles cut through the night. A group of bikers, 6 in total, pulled in behind her, their leather vests gleaming with patches under the fluorescent lights. Emma had seen plenty of bikers before, most were harmless, some even friendly. But the way these men carried themselves, the way their eyes lingered on her as she climbed out of the cab, told her this was different. "Hey, sweetheart," one of them called, his voice oily with mockery. "That's a mighty big truck for such a pretty little lady. You sure you know how to handle all that?" Emma ignored him. She'd learned that silence was often the best armor. With steady steps, she started the fuel pump, keeping her focus on the numbers ticking upward. Another biker sauntered closer, his boots crunching on gravel. "Don't be shy now. Or just bein' friendly." The group chuckled, their laughter echoing in the emptiness of the night. Emma's jaw tightened. She felt Duke shift inside the cab, his sharp bark muffled by the door. Raven's ears pressed against the window, eyes locked on the strangers. One biker leaned against the pump opposite hers, invading her space. "Come on, honey, have a drink with us. We'll keep ya company. These roads get awful lonely." Emma stood her ground, her voice calm but firm. "I'm not interested. Please step back." Her refusal only seemed to amuse them. "Ooh, feisty," the first man sneered. "I like that." The laughter grew louder, the circle around her tighter. Her heart thudded, but she didn't panic. She knew she had backup, silent, loyal, and waiting for her signal. When one of the bikers reached out and brushed his hand against her arm, everything changed. The cab door burst open with a force that startled even Emma. Duke leapt down first, a powerful blur of muscle and fur, his deep growl rumbling like thunder. Raven followed, her teeth bared, eyes burning with protective fire. The men froze. "What the?" One biker stumbled back, nearly tripping over his own boots. Emma raised her hand slightly, a subtle command. The dogs didn't lunge, not yet. They stood at her sides like soldiers, muscles coiled, growls vibrating in their throats. "These aren't just pets," Emma said evenly, her voice carrying the kind of calm authority only someone who trusted their companions completely could muster. "They're trained service dogs. They know exactly what to do if I feel threatened. You might want to rethink your choices tonight." The leader tried to play it off, smirking. "Big dogs don't scare us." But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Duke snapped his jaws with a sound that sliced through the air, and Raven advanced one step, forcing the biker to retreat another 3. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then the unexpected happened. One of the younger bikers, no more than 25, lowered his gaze. "Leave her alone, guys," he muttered. "This ain't right." The others turned on him with disbelief. "What, you gone soft?" But the young man shook his head, stepping away from the pack. His voice was quiet but firm. "My mom drives a truck. She works night shifts alone. If someone treated her like this, I couldn't live with myself." Emma's eyes softened, her heart catching at his words. In that moment, the hostility in the air shifted. The power of a single act of empathy cracked through the bravado of the group like lightning. The leader scoffed, but the tension was broken. With a muttered curse, he signaled his men back toward their bikes. "Fine. She ain't worth the trouble." Engines roared to life, and one by one, they sped off into the night, except for the young biker, who lingered. He approached cautiously, hands raised to show peace. Duke and Raven relaxed only when Emma gave the command. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "They don't listen to reason sometimes. You were right to stand your ground." Emma studied him, seeing sincerity in his eyes. "You did the right thing. That matters more than you think." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I don't know if it makes up for anything, but, be safe out there." And with that, he mounted his bike and disappeared into the night. Emma finished fueling, her hands trembling only once the silence settled again. She knelt beside Duke and Raven, stroking their fur. "Good job, my loves. You kept me safe, like always." The dogs licked her hands, tails wagging, not just protectors, but her loyal companions in a world that often tested her resilience. As she pulled back onto the highway, stars scattered like diamonds above the desert, Emma felt something stirring in her chest. It wasn't just relief, it was hope. Hope that even in a world full of cruelty, there were still people who chose compassion. That young biker had reminded her, and perhaps even his own crew, that kindness wasn't weakness. It was courage. Her rig thundered down the empty road, her dogs curled safely in the cab. She carried more than cargo that night. She carried the quiet knowledge that goodness, though sometimes hidden, could surface in the most unexpected places. And that was enough to keep her going. Glowing star final message moral. This story shows that courage doesn't always roar, it sometimes speaks in a quiet act of compassion. And when loyalty, love, and kindness unite, they can stand against fear, reminding us that humanity still shines, even in the darkest nights.